football, and he's really good at it, apparently. So we're going to have him tackle us into the future here as we're going to break down trust over traffic. Now, he's the CEO of an agency called Rare Bloom Marketing, which is a 7-figure agency. And in addition to that, Eric Winegard, despite his name, he actually isn't a huge wine connoisseur. That said, he is a connoisseur of knowledge of AI, and he has a ton to share with us. It's extremely valuable and have to be authentic in this era. So please give him a warm and robust welcome, Eric Winegard.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Awesome. Click left, click right, right? Good afternoon. Thank you guys for joining. I was originally told 30 minutes, and I got stuck with 55 minutes. I'm happy to do it. So I think I'm going to go into my origin story a little deeper. And I really like to do that because I think whenever you hear a speaker, I think it's important to put what they're saying into context, because all of us come from, a different background, or we have a different lens in terms of how we're looking at things. But I never claimed to be the smartest guy in the room at all. I was raised with a single mother, very low socioeconomic. I didn't have, a mom and dad that were in business talking about business things every day. All I cared about, as you heard the introduction, was football and basketball and getting into fights and causing trouble. But yeah, very low socioeconomic background. My single mom and I were homeless. At the time, I remember living in a homeless shelter. I just thought it was a big sleepover, right? I was in a lot of foster homes. I caused a lot of problems when I was a young kid. Business was not on my brain as a young man. I didn't even graduate high school in time. Destroyed a lot of those athletic opportunities. Yes, I was a pretty good football player, quarterback, punt returner, kick returner, but destroyed a lot of those opportunities. Now, my sole motivation when you come from that background, and this is the lens that I'm talking about, is survival, right? You have to learn how to make money. And I eventually went into the military. I went into the Navy for 4 years, and I think I really developed a lot of work ethic there, a lot of organization, a lot of structure, and that really grew me from that young immature man to young immature boy to a mature man. Still at that time, when I got out of the military at 22, 23 years old, everybody told me I had to go do this thing called college, and it was imperative that I got a degree to be successful. So I succumbed to that pressure, and I said, well, I better go get myself a college degree, and I did. And I got myself a degree in psychology, and to this day, yesterday was my 45th birthday. To this day, thank you. Happy birthday to me. To this day, no one has seen or asked me for my college degree or my diploma. To this day. So sorry if there's any parents in here and they're telling their kids they have to go to college. I'm here to tell you, no, you don't. I think I wasted a ton of money on it. But that leads me to my career. And I'm from upstate New York in Rochester. I had to make money. So that's all I was thinking in my head. I wasn't thinking business. I wasn't thinking marketing. I certainly wasn't thinking about AI. I just needed income. And I saw that there was a career called sales where a lot of people were making good amounts of income without necessarily becoming a doctor or an attorney. So I eventually took a sales position at a marketing firm. And this was in the year 2005, maybe January of 2006, actually, I believe it was. And didn't know anything about marketing, but I had to learn about marketing. So you can imagine, we're sitting here talking about AI right now, and I have a whole presentation for you on AI. Man, we were doing marketing. Dial-up was actually still around. The iPhone hadn't even been invented. So I've really been in the marketing space for a couple decades now, and I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen myself and my company. I don't mean this to be ageist, okay? But it was ran by a lot of men in their mid-60s that were, they had made their money and they were kind of just stuck in their ways. And, my motto is either evolve or dissolve, and they weren't evolving. So after 17 years, one job and one job only. I mean, how rare is that today? If you look at my LinkedIn, Dude, I had one job, 17 years. I committed my blood, sweat, and tears to this company. And you can't make this up. Right as COVID occurred, I believe which was March of 2020, I believe, roughly, a week prior to that, the CEO asked me to take over that company as the CEO. And obviously I thought about it, right? I put a lot of thought to it, and of course I was tempted to take that position. And this is a firm that I was the vice president of sales in, and I'd been there 17 years, and this is kind of the pinnacle, right? It's almost like a coach or a football player, spending 12 years playing football, and then they become an assistant coach for 4 or 5 years, and then they get the opportunity to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, right? It's what they've been working for their entire life. And I just had this entrepreneurial instinct in me to where I said, I can't do it, and I can't take the position. And in fact, I'm gonna resign because I couldn't ride someone else's coattails. I couldn't do it. I had to go do it myself. Now, I don't mean that to be an insult to anybody here, anywhere. This is just me and my story. And at the age of 39 years old, something I had worked for my entire life, I quit. I didn't quit, I resigned on my own terms. And my beautiful wife and I, we moved down to South Florida, and we started our own marketing agency. But what we brought was a lot of the modern things that the prior company that I was working with decided not to adapt to. And I'm proud today, no, we're not a 7-figure agency, we're an 8-figure agency just 5 years after we started it. So my wife and I are rocking and rolling. So why do I kind of tell you this background? Because I'm not even a marketing guy. I'm not an AI guy. I'm a sales guy, okay? I'm a sales-driven guy that is running an ad agency, right? We're sitting here talking about the challenges of business today. I'm running an agency, but I'm running it with very talented people. Don't get me wrong. I'm hiring people to handle a lot of the AI problems and opportunities that we have. But I think through a sales lens, right? And I'm thinking, how do we capitalize on this? How do we make money? How do we make money from this? That's when I go back to my natural instincts of survival, okay? So I believe AI today, CEOs and decision makers, they're all scrambling. I see it, scrambling. And nobody knows, right? Nobody can say definitively how to necessarily monetize it yet the right way, or how to create efficiencies in our company, right? So every CEO or every decision maker I talk to today is either trying to slash costs through AI or monetize and make money through AI. And I think there's going to be a lot of risk involved with AI, and I'm really excited to kind of get into some of these, because with every risk comes opportunity, and I'm trying to jump on those opportunities. So I'm excited to get into this with you. So I'm intentionally being a little long-winded here because I'm trying to get to the 55 minutes, all right? So, all right. All right, so what I wanted to, and I hope hope this is right here. Sorry, I'm just getting on here. So my concept today is that, there's a huge conference they put together every year called Traffic and Conversion. Some of these guys will pay Grant Cardone $100,000 just to sit in a room with him for an hour to learn about traffic. And I think trust is going to be more important than any traffic you can ever generate here as we're evolving in these next few years. That's my beautiful wife. Let me get this out of the way. She is absolutely the smartest person in my company. She's the brains behind everything. I'm just the face. I'm the networker. I'm the speaker. She really runs the show, okay? So I'm a big believer in talking about counterpositions, right? And I do have a counterposition today about AI. I'm going to talk about where I think it is today, where will it be tomorrow, how is it going to impact us, and I'm speaking through a business owner's lens here, okay? So I'm going to be speaking through an agency lens, and I'm going to be speaking through an HVAC company's lens, an insurance company's lens, the local dental office lens, and then how we can overcome some of these challenges. But so I have a theory. I have a big theory, and this is not backed up by any proof. I cannot back this up with any documentation, any facts. This is strictly a hunch that I'm going on. I think, just like with any new technology that's created, there's going to be good players and there's going to be bad players, right? And with cryptocurrency, we've seen very legitimate companies that have come out and created, great opportunities for people to accelerate their wealth, store their wealth. But then obviously, we've seen bad players in these industries where they're taking advantage of the hype and they're creating illegitimate gold rush scenarios where they have preyed upon people's excitement. And it's obvious this is already occurring. If you go on X and you just kind of scroll down through X and Twitter, you can already see it happening. You see them. You see these fake AI images and videos of people promising, if you buy into this, you'll do this. And there's already scams occurring. Now, I'm not one of these people that's saying we need to over-regulate things to the point to where we can't get anything done. But my instinct is telling me there will be something catastrophic that occurs with AI. There will be. There will be some bank that gets destroyed because of AI. There will be some college tuition that gets stolen because of some AI. There will be some election that gets affected because of AI. Not to get political with you guys, but of course, social media is already affecting elections today in our country and other countries. Imagine what the capabilities are going to be with AI in the future, right? So there's definitely got to be a little bit of a cause for pause. So I think just like any new technology, I look at it like the airplane. There was no such thing as an airplane crash until the airplane was invented. You could say the same thing about the car. But in society today, for all those fatal crashes, right, and those deathly crashes that occur in a motor vehicle, we kind of just go, well, we all need to get to work, so we all need to get places. So for the small minority, we just kind of accept, yeah, we're going to take some fatalities. And hopefully that's where AI goes, to where it's only going to be the few and far between, to where we see some of these damaging effects. But as wide scale and as powerful that AI is, I'm not trying to, this isn't fear tactics or fear mongering. That's not my goal here. I think there is an opportunity for a lot of chaos to occur. For God's sakes, Elon Musk, what did he say? They actually asked him, they said, what percentage, and I don't know how old you guys are here, but if you've ever watched The Terminator, there was, I'm showing my age, right? Like I said, 45, so I'm an 80s baby, right? In The Terminator, there was basically AI and machines, and by the way, it's very scary how Elon's robots look compared to the robots in The Terminator. That kind of freaks me out a little bit. If you've seen The Terminator, you know I'm spot on. And there was a technology called Skynet, right? Skynet was basically exactly what we're talking about here. Skynet was AI technology that became evil. They created these army of machines that basically went out to kill people. And they asked Elon Musk, what percentage, what chance is that our AI that we're developing will turn into Skynet? And I was hoping he was going to say, oh, maybe 0.3%. But he said like 10 to 20%. I mean, to me, that's pretty wild. Like if I approached all of you guys and I said, I'll give you $1 billion if there's a bullet in this gun and it doesn't kill you, but there's a 1 in 6 chance that there is a bullet in this gun and you're going to die now. I wouldn't take it. I don't know about you, but my life is worth way more than an 18% chance of getting $1 billion. But But that's what we're all kind of saying with AI right now. We're kind of just going, all right, the heck with it. Let's move forward with it, right? So I know I'm sounding like this might be scare tactics, but really what I'm going to talk about here is the opportunity to overcome some of these obstacles. You know, it's interesting. This is just kind of a cool fact. I like to look at the S&P 500 I'm a big S&P investor. It's all I've ever really invested in crypto and real estate. I don't really like to buy and trade stocks, but I've always had my money in the S&P. And for those of you who might not know what the S&P is, it's basically the 500 largest American stocks. In the year 1990, the largest stock was ExxonMobil. And today, it's wild when you look at those top 10 stocks. It's all the tech companies, but you have Microsoft and NVIDIA always competing as the #1 largest company in darn near the world. And I think that just kind of goes to show how powerful AI really is and how much people are really investing into it. It is not going anywhere. People are committed to this movement. So here's the real disruptor, in my opinion. Trust. Right? So I was just having a conversation with this gentleman who also owns an agency. And, you know, my business, we do well north of $1 million a month. I'll get that out of the way. And yes, we know how to run ads. Yes, I know how to run Google ads. Yes, I know how to run Meta ads. Yes, we know how to do TikTok ads. Not as good as YouTube ads, by the way. But the majority of our business still comes through relationships, networking, and I call them strategic partnerships, where parties will endorse us to basically go sell to their network. So I do a lot of networking with chambers of commerce. We have about 75 contracts with chambers of commerce, mostly east of the Mississippi. I work with a lot of trade associations, contractors, dental, real estate. And even as good as we are is running ads and getting inbound business, it still can't compete with the business that we get through good old-fashioned networking and door knocking. Now, I don't want to over-embellish this name, but you know, I've been to a lot of Patrick Bet-David's events. He puts on a lot of events throughout the year, and I usually pay for the premium level to sit right in the front. And you know, I don't text message the guy. We're not buddies like that. But if he came in here, he would acknowledge me and dat me up and say, my man. You know, I have tapped into their network to where they're constantly giving our company referrals. And obviously that network is a lot of business owners that have $100 million plus companies. I mean, some of these businesses are approaching $1 billion. Now, if you're running an agency, you can run Google ads, you can run Meta ads, you can run TikTok ads, you can run LinkedIn ads, you can put your ad spend behind it. But I promise you, one of these guys that runs a $150 million company, he ain't responding. He ain't filling out a form on Facebook. He ain't doing it. So today, my business, my modern marketing company still does more business through these relationships and networking and the bonds that I've created. And I believe, wow, only 20 minutes? Holy moly. I truly believe that the pendulum is going to swing so far back the traditional way that I think trust is going to be more important at the very beginning of this presentation, like I said, than any traffic you can ever generate. You know, a lot of, think about the lack of trust we have in society today. When you talk to somebody, he owns an agency here, right? If you talk to somebody and they say, the first question out of their mouth is always what? What makes you different? If you talk to a real estate professional and he or she is going to come list your home or sell your home, what are you typically going to ask them? What makes you different? And really what they're saying is I've heard this sales pitch before. I've heard it over and over and over again. And what they're saying is I don't trust you, dude. I don't trust you, lady. I'm not 100% sure if you're legitimate or not. You got to read through the lines there. Trust. I intentionally don't have my phone on me right now. How many phone calls do you get a day that you don't trust? How many? Cold calls don't work anymore. When I was doing cold calling 10 years ago, I could at least get 1 in 100, right? I could call 100 businesses and set 1 appointment. So every day I could set 2 appointments if I make 200 calls. Not anymore. They don't trust me, and I'm as good as they get in sales. 1 in 300 I get now. Cold calling isn't what it used to be. Now, I'm not saying you don't put that into your strategy as a business person. I'm just saying, really trying to hammer home this point. We don't trust each other. We don't trust anybody. We don't trust our phone. we don't right? We don't even trust our own logging into our own internet. We don't trust anybody outside of our immediate circle. So what the heck do you think is going to happen when AI influencers become the norm? You kidding me here? Gary Vee believes that AI influencers are going to be dominating the internet. AI influencers. That's kind of odd to me. But we're going down that road, right? So unfortunately, some of these scams are inevitable. It's going to happen. And I hope none of us have to succumb to it, but somebody's going to make a really good one. Somebody is going to say the president said this and Gavin Newsom said this and blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, you got a riot occurring somewhere else, and it's going to happen. And maybe they're all playing a trick on us right now as it is. Who knows, right? Maybe we're the fools. But AI is powerful, and AI has the opportunity to really do some damage. Gary Vee believes that, like I said, these AI-generated influencers are going to gain massive popularity, and we're already seeing it. It might sound weird to you, right? So, like, if you watch, I don't know, I'm not really into the Kardashians, but I know they're a popular thing in society, right? The Kardashians can sell product like crazy. There's going to be a day some of these AI influencers, I'm talking, hear me out, AI influencers, a little cartoon on Instagram with 5 million followers selling more product than the Kardashians. It sounds weird, but so does a lot of other things. Video games sound weird to me. It's kind of weird. It's not a real world. Have you seen the gaming industry? Are you kidding me? The gaming industry might end up becoming bigger than the actual football industry and basketball industry itself. That's how big it is. And you don't think AI influencers are going to have the influence that the Kardashians have? You're crazy. It's coming. I think it's weird. I think it's very weird. I think it's creepy. But as a business person, I got to figure out what to do with this. So, do I rush to make AI content like everybody right now? Because that's the big rush. Have you guys seen, I always goof it up, have you seen this Google VE30? I forget the name of it, VE3. You guys can probably correct me on that. It's wild. It's only $300 a month. I don't mean only $300 a month. I mean, for the average agency, it's kind of a drop in the bucket. It's nothing crazy. It looks like it should be $30,000 a month. Have you guys seen this? I can literally just prompt it. Give me a scene of a guy with long hair and a spear running into McDonald's, throwing a spear at a cheeseburger because he really wants to eat that cheeseburger and says, give it to me now. And then you'll see this guy running in with a spear, throwing it at McDonald's, and it looks like real footage. You can't even tell. I sound like I'm doing a sales pitch for Google right now. I'm not. Because it's scary. Because most of the AI you guys see right now, it looks a little bit fake, but some of this AI, it's getting so, in terms of the creative, it's getting so, not even intellectually good, but physically good for the appearance, right? And on the visual, that you're not going to know the difference. It is unbelievable. Do a little homework on that. If I would have had some video capabilities here and I had some time to prep for this, I would show that to you guys right now, because it is the scariest thing I've ever seen. It is the scariest thing I've ever seen. Google VE30. Take a look at it on YouTube or something later. They'll sell like the Kardashians, right? But they'll be able to mislead like the best con artists in the world, right? So I predict that AI will cause a massive public scandal. It's going to happen. Something's going to happen. It's going to be huge, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. I hope it doesn't happen to you, but it's going to be so big. It's going to be so big that the trust everybody's trust becomes warped. And I believe at that moment in time, it's going to be hard to sell things. In business, it's going to be even harder than it is today. What makes you different? Who are you? I think it's going to get really hard. So while everybody's trying to jump onto this monetization of AI, I'm thinking, okay, what do we do when the pendulum swings back the other way? Because to me, like I said, I don't have a statistic to back this up. This is just me using my, street smarts and common sense. If we're not a trusting world today, what's going to happen when that big public scandal happens? What's going to happen when Bank of America in 6 or 7 years goes down and everybody loses their money and it's all due to AI, right? May not be that, but some public scandal will happen. That's my quote. I'm taking credit for that, all right? Eric Winegard. AI influencers will become more powerful than the Kardashians, okay? Yeah, I mean, you guys are seeing this already. This is what's interesting about AI. For my company right now, we use AI a lot, and I think that AI is a lot more than ChatGPT. A lot more, okay? AI, I'll give you guys an example. Benny, that conference or that mastermind that we went to, I was blown away by some of the stuff they were talking about. Because my company, we do app development and we do charge a premium for app development. App development takes a long time. But an app that would cost you, if you know how to really use AI today, an app that would have costed you several $100,000 even 18 months ago, you could damn near get for free today. And I don't mean free, but in terms of time, but in terms of an investment, yeah, the technology is there. People are monetizing AI in ways that you wouldn't believe. So what does that mean for all these other industries? I think that, depending upon what industry you're in, AI is going to impact you directly or indirectly, sooner than later. If I'm an accounting firm, now the accounting industry is really unique today because it is a lot of old timers. And there haven't been a lot of young timers that have been like, oh, I want to go be an accountant. That sounds really fun. I want to go do that, right? So you have a lot of these older accounting firms, and they're typically people in their 60s and 70s. They're not being replaced by people in their 20s and 30s at all. That industry it's going to crack in the next couple of years. It's pretty bad. So, but if I'm an accountant, when it comes to AI, I'm scared to death because I'm sure someone will have a program here in the next 6 months with AI. It's just numbers. It's just section 179 tax code, section whatever tax code. It's just running the numbers and running the books. AI is going to be able to do accounting way better than any accountant. So what does that mean? If I don't have kids today, my wife and I are trying right now. But then you have the flip side of other industries that may not be impacted by AI. I don't know if AI could ever do plumbing. I don't know. I don't know if, I don't think so, right? I don't think that you could have a water leak, you're not sure what it is, and you send a text message, you do a quick Google search, you send a text message, hey, I have a water leak. I don't know if a robot can show up and identify and fix the plumbing yet, right? But I feel the trade a lot of the trades are going to be pretty safe. Home remodeling, flooring, you would think roofing, hopefully. I mean, maybe I'm out of my mind. But I do think that in business today, there's going to be certain industries that are immediately impacted by AI, and the agency is one of them. And then there's other industries like a police officer that I'm sure will be impacted, but for how long? You know, if I'm a 26-year-old police officer today, with all the crap we see, excuse my language, but all the stuff we see going on in LA, I don't want to be a police officer, right? I don't want to deal with that stuff. I want my paycheck, and I want to go home to my wife, right? I mean, these guys are putting their lives on the line, right? And unfortunately, more and more lately, right? You don't think they're going to make robots? You don't think in the next decade they're probably going to have robots in LA? It's probably going to be the first city they have them. Maybe Chicago, Benny, right? Right? You know, some of these cities, right? Chi-Town, where I'm from, Rochester, New York. Yeah, I could see them having robots. It's dangerous, man. You know, I think it might be, do you guys have any questions or comments on any of this stuff that you want me to expand on? And no big deal if you don't, no pressure. I'm not going to put anybody under it. Anybody having a question about me and my agency? And I think I can bring this little box to you. Awesome, we got somebody, let's go.
I was just curious if you've, as an agency owner, started to see maybe client spend coming down because, you know, a lot of, not all of the work, some of the work can be done, as you mentioned, via AI, whether it's copywriting, which I think is a really secure thing if you're a copywriter, but design, a lot of that has been, I work in a pretty large company, and we've talked about it, about trying to get agencies to spend down and do things internally. So I'm sure you probably see it as a threat, but also as a enabler probably for you. Am I right?
And I just want to rephrase your question to make sure I answer it the right way for everybody. Is it basically that if I have a client paying me $3,000 a month, they kind of learn how to do some things on their own with AI, and next thing you know, they don't need us anymore?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, of course, right? Yeah, of course. You know, case in point, I had a client, and it's scary. It's scary. Yeah, it's scary. You know, I had a client, one of our first clients that we ever had, Easy Life Realty in Sherman, Texas. Lisa Hitchcock and her husband, John Hitchcock. And they were spending about $3,700 a month with us for a long time. And that's a great account. We love those accounts. They own a real estate firm. They have about 40 agents. And yeah, she just kind of called me on the side one day and said, Eric, you know, we have an internal team and we're pretty good. Like I love you, but yeah, we're going to go our separate ways. And she started crying to me because of our relationship. But what am I going to say? I said, God bless you. You know, you're right. You can do a lot of these things, and you have an in-house videographer too. I'm not going to try to salvage that. But that goes, or try to push something onto them that they don't need anymore, right? That's a part of doing ethical business, right? So my entire presentation today is about, you know, when you lose clients in general, I mean, you have to be able to supplement them, right? So that's why I believe sales is always going to be the lifeblood of a company, and I don't mean that to minimize anybody else's position, but you have to be able to continue to build up your own sales pipeline to replace, you know, a lot of those lost accounts. I will say this though, and this is just my humble opinion, and I was thinking about a way to try to articulate this. And at least in the near term, you know, I'll give you an example. My sister-in-law works with us, right? And she didn't really understand ChatGPT, and she's young. She's 26, and I'm like, Paige, you got to start using ChatGPT. Some of your emails sound like a freaking high school kid. I'm like, at least let ChatGPT clean it up, you know? And she said, okay, I'll start using it, right? So she sent her sister and I, the two owners of the company, an email requesting some time off. And clearly it was the first time she ever used ChatGPT, because in the email to me, we have a very loving relationship, and to her sister, she said, hey, I'm requesting time off, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for your timeliness in this urgent manner. And it just sounded like this scripted BS from ChatGPT, right? So I call her up and go, Paige, you don't have to use ChatGPT with me. Like, what the heck is wrong with you, right? But the reason I say that is because of context, right? ChatGPT didn't understand the relationship and the context, right? So I think as we're going down this road of what services people need, there's still an opportunity to bring context into creatives, right? Because, and I hope you're not losing me here. I hope I'm explaining it the right way, I guess I should say, right? So rather than letting AI take over your marketing, I don't look at it like that. I look at AI as a bunch of little assistants, right? A bunch of little assistants that are going to help me and my team make the decisions on the marketing. We're still the ultimate decision maker. We're still the ultimate creative. But I think there's a world where maybe if we're providing, because if I'm an agency and I have to cut through the noise of what makes my agency different, then what we have to bring to our clients is the same damn thing. What makes this real estate firm or this accounting firm or this law firm stand out throughout their BS and their noise and their competitors? We have to bring to them the same thing we're trying to bring to ourselves. It's a very unique industry from that point. And from that vantage point, it's creative. There's intellectual property here. There has to be thought. There has to be creative put into your marketing. And I don't think AI is going to be very creative in the near term. I really don't. Because they don't understand that people in the Northeast talk a little fast, right? Or people from the South talk a little slow. Or they might not understand racial undertones. They might not understand, heritage undertones. What's the difference between, Indian food has a natural scent to it, and they might not understand, there's some comedy around that maybe, right? So I think there's an opportunity to provide value to our clients that may not be a menial task, but where we still are helping them with the ultimate creative, which truly is going to differentiate them from their competition. Very long-winded answer, but I'm just as scared as you about, of course I'm scared of it. So I'm just thinking, okay, how do we bring more value another way? Yeah.
Kind of supporting in theory, I think one thing that I've thought about is, in every day as AI becomes more prevalent, and kind of all you're seeing around you is AI, I think that people are going to turn more towards kind of in-person trust. Maybe even start to see live events even more than we do now. During COVID, certainly, like trade show numbers went way down, and I think you'll probably start to see a lot of that kind of face-to-face relationship building come back up. So as a sales pro, I think that would certainly be a plus.
I have a very diverse company. I'm very proud of it. First hire I ever had was a black man by the name of Roger. I have a 70-year-old woman. I have people of all ages, demographics. I have a very diverse company. I'm very proud of it, right? So I say that so you don't think I'm ageist when I say this. Yes, when I hire someone 58 years old, yes, I have to be concerned about their ability to be sharp with technology. I hired, and there's a reason for me bringing this up. I hired a 61-year-old woman to do sales. She had all the grit and grind and the resume and everything, And she got in with our company for 2 weeks, and oh boy, you know, the idea of Zoom and Google all at once was like, I was like, she couldn't do it, right? Technology was a major leap for her, okay? But her skill set, the reason why I hired her in the first place was I know she knows how to network, go face to face. She shook me right in my eye, looked me right in my eye, didn't blink at all, shook me with a good handshake and said, I'll be the best damn salesperson you ever had. And I was like, whoa, okay. We need more of that, right? So, but then the younger demographics, right? You know, my brother-in-law is 22 years old. And that's a wild age. Because when he played, he was a good football player from upstate New York. His senior year got destroyed by COVID. So you normally play football in the fall. And during that time period, in the year 2020, they canceled football season. And then they ended up playing like a few football games in like February and March, which is really weird. But his senior season, where he was supposed to be the man, you know, got destroyed by COVID, you know. And if you just, you know, imagine what type of psychological impact that has on him. And I promise you, this is a long-winded reason for this, right? So now he is really good with technology, right? Like I play video games with him. Like I'm playing 2K, like basketball. Man, I can only beat him like once in 20 times. And I got to like make like a super team to do it. You know what I mean? And I used to be really good at it, you know? And he kicks my butt every time. I'm like, how do you do that? I'm definitely showing my age with him when I play him. So that's the allure to hiring someone like that. It's like, oh, he gets technology. You know, he totally gets it. But because he's so locked into his Instagram, and because he's been socially damaged by COVID, I know he can't own a room the way that woman can, right? So, but the reason I bring that out is the reason I hired her is because I'm thinking about this, and what you just said is it's even going to impact hiring. Because I'm thinking maybe technology, of course it's important, but maybe I'm going to put a premium on your ability to stand on stage. I'm going to put a premium on your ability to knock on a door. I'm going to put a premium on your ability to network. You can't just go to a networking event. You got to go say hello to somebody, right? Right, Benny? Like you did to me. You like we did to you. Got to go say what's up. You know what I mean? You're like, what's up? You got to say hello, and with some confidence and with some fear of rejection. You know what I'm saying? Marcus, he doesn't have that. So now I'm thinking, and I'm not knocking you young guys, I'm trying to elevate you, right? I'm trying to elevate you what an employer like me thinks about, right? So I love your technology, and I love your modernness, but you really lack some other skills typically. So now I'm already thinking, damn, maybe I gotta modify my sales force a little bit. Anybody in here born from the years of 1980 to 1984? Raise your hand. Yo, we are beast. And let me tell you why. We own this, excuse my language, I don't want to get in trouble, but I was about to say some curse words. But we own this bitch. Let me tell you why. We are in such an anomaly because you talk to somebody ages 41 to 45 right now, hire them immediately because we have old school work ethic, right? We believe in working hard. I worked at one company for 17 years. I believe in loyalty. But I had a computer when I was 13 or 14 years old, right? So I am in this, and I don't just mean me, I mean anybody born 80 to 84, we are a dinosaur in a good way. We don't exist. What's that? Yeah, and obviously there's, you know, it's like an accordion, right? It's like, of course, I'm not saying just because you're born in 1990, you just think. But I think there's a world today, and I'm just speaking, where the reason my business is flourishing is because I understand both of these. I understand technology, and I'm like, I know I'm not as good at it, so I I really got to hire really top-notch people to handle that stuff. But then you also need those personal skills, those interpersonal communicational skills, the networking skills. You have to ask for referrals. That's a skill that's lost in business. If you got a really good client, you got someone paying you $3,700 a month, and all you're focusing on is trying to get more leads on an Instagram post, man, your best money maker is your existing customer base. Get some damn referrals from them. Like, hey, Kelly, we've been working with each other for 6 months. You're very thrilled. You see the results. Our business, just like yours, heavily relies on word of mouth and referrals. Would you be so kind to, give us a few recommendations of some of your friends, peers, that we can reach out to offer them some of the same services? So that's a long-winded answer, but I really like your questions. Anybody else got anything? I love the questions because I still got 8 more minutes to go and I got nothing for you. I can probably come up with something. Word of mouth, referrals, relationship building, strategic partnerships. My opinion on relationship building. Oh, fire away. Let's go.
So you said that your psychology background, but nobody asked. So I'm gonna ask you.
I like where you're going.
Right? Because I feel like there is a psychology to the digital world that you just touched upon, okay? And you kind of forecast some things. And so if you can, based upon looking at it from a psychological standpoint, what should we be doing? Because I heard what we shouldn't be doing. So what should we be doing to build the trust? What should we be doing to not let to control the market and not be consumed by it?
Yeah, that's really good. So I think that one of the reasons I really like getting involved with this Patrick Bet-David network is I like what he stands for. Once again, this isn't political. I'm not talking political. I'm talking values, ethics, morals. So Benny, one of the most important things in business is doing what you say you're going to do and do it. And your client, that one that went away, right? The best thing you can do is ethically say to them, I understand your decision, and I appreciate the time you worked with us. Maybe you still want to hey, do you still need this service, this service, this service? But the way I would execute that situation is I want to keep that as a relationship. I want to keep it as a friendship. I want to end, even if I have to end that relationship contractually, doesn't mean I have to end that relationship permanently, because that still might be a referral source, right? So I think back to basics is, if you do what you say you're going to do, Benny, and if you're honest and ethical, and if you goof up, tell the client you goofed up, and you truly deliver on what you say you're going to do, and you're a good business person, that's the way you're going to cut through the noise. It really is, because your reputation is going to be more important than it was in the 1950s. Because that's all you had. Your reputation is going to be more important than what your reputation was as a business owner in the 1950s. So the way to cut through the noise is to be the most legitimate, reputable, not just business person, but person in your space, and you'll flourish. Thank you for your time.
Another round of applause. Thank you so much. Very good. All right. See, now we're all going to be lying in bed and wondering, like, are we a robot? Are we real? Like, what's real anymore? Are we all part of the matrix? But no, seriously, we can talk a good think about where the future is going and how to stay authentic and grounded. And speaking of in person, you definitely want to network with all the speakers while we're here. In fact, in our next networking